everybody. We are back with Thoughts Are Things. We are on chapter 9. Chapter 9 is called The God in Yourself. Now remembering, we just got done with chapter 8. Chapter 8 was a very confusing chapter. It was only one page, but Prentice Mulford really goes into the animal kingdom. And a really quick takeaway for that to kind of keep in the back of your mind, I think the point that Mulford was really going for was that when we as humans, we as people, when we live against nature's laws, when we live against universal law, well, there's going to be negative consequences to that. Okay. Just like an animal, when you take an animal out of its natural habitat, well, it shortens its life. Okay. And I think Prentice Mulford isn't really explaining it that way, but I think that's really the takeaway here. We're actually going into chapter 9 is that when we violate universal laws, remember universal laws, there's always both sides of a coin. Okay, there's always a polar opposite when we talk about universal law, or no matter what you want to call it, universal law, nature's laws, natural laws. No matter what, there's always a polar opposite. If there's a positive, has to be a negative. There's a hot, has to be a cold. There's an up, there has to be a down. So when we live against nature's laws or universal laws, well, we're going to suffer those consequences, positive or negative. And I think in chapter 8, that's what he was really meaning. That's why he kept the chapter really, really short, only one page. But keep that in the back of your mind as we move on to chapter 9 here. So, lo and behold, let's move on to chapter 9. Chapter 9 is called again, The God in Yourself. And let me see real quick what color I have this on. Change that there. Now let's get rocking. As a spirit, you are a part of God, or the infinite force or spirit of good. Listen to that. I'll say that one more time. As a spirit, remember, the spirit is inside you. When we try to manifest, you're manifesting from within out. Okay, you always hear me say, like even in my other videos, and you hear other people say that heaven is within you. Abundance is within you. Abundance is your birthright. Heaven is within. The spirit is within. You know, even if you believe in religion, the Holy Spirit is inside you. Okay, so this is where he's going with this. As a spirit, you are a part of God, or the infinite force or spirit of good. As such part, you are an ever-growing power which can never lessen and must always increase, even as it has in the past through many ages always increased and built you up as to intelligence, to your present mental stature. The power of your mind has been growing to its present quality and clearness through many more physical lives than the one you are now living. Through each past life, you have unconsciously added to its power. Every struggle of the mind, be it struggle against pain, struggle against appetite, struggle for more skill in doing of anything, struggle for greater advice or advance in any art or calling, struggle and dissatisfaction at your failings and defects, is an actual pushing of the spirit to greater power and a greater relative complexion of yourself. And with such complexion, happiness. For the aim of living is happiness, which I love that. For the aim of living is happiness. And when you say the aim of living is happiness, even when you go back to just regular manifesting, or law of attraction, law of assumption, is that the basics of this, even the basics of law of attraction, is enjoying life, enjoying what you want to do things you like and enjoy that make you happy. Why is that so powerful? Because when you're happy, you're in a high vibration, you're in a high vibrant state, and you attract on that level. You don't have to constantly think about what you want to manifest. You don't have to constantly think about your intention, okay? Because when you're constantly thinking about something, you're kind of mentally coercing it to happen. You're trying to, like in an indirect way, you're trying to force it to happen. Okay, that's why it's so powerful to just focus in the now and focus on things you like and you enjoy and be in that statement of joy and happiness. Okay, that's why Mulford ended this paragraph is for the aim of living is happiness. There is today more of you, the more of every desirable mental quality belonging to you than ever before. The very dissatisfaction and discontent you may feel concerning your failings is a proof of this. If your mind was not as clear as it is, it could not It could not see those failings. You are not now where you may have been in a mood of self-complacency, when you thought yourself about right in every respect. Only you may now, in looking at yourself, have swung too far in the opposite direction. And because your eyes have been suddenly opened to certain faults, you may think these faults to be constantly increasing. They are not. The God in yourself, the ever-growing power in yourself. Listen to this. I'll highlight this for you just in case you're keeping up with me. The God in yourself. See, God is within you. The Spirit is within you. Heaven is within you. The ever-growing power in yourself has made you see an incompleteness in your character. Yet the incompleteness was never so near a relative completion as now. Of this, the greatest proof is that you can now see what in yourself you never saw or felt before. Now, what he's talking about here is really self-awareness. I mean, just like in my other videos, I always say, when you get better and better and better at law of attraction, law of assumption, you get better and better and better with manifesting. Okay, I always say, be aware. Okay, because you're aware of your habits. It's really our habits, our bad habits that we have that hold us back, that keep us exactly where we are. Okay, we want to get better. Okay, but our bad habits is keeping us stuck, almost keeping us stuck in that law of karma per se. So once we do more studying, because we want a better life, we want to be a better person. We're trying to get better overall. We kind of live that. We want the whole piece of the pie. We want wealth, health, and prosperity in every area of our life. Okay, so what happens is we need to be aware. Once we're aware of what's going on, we can fix it. You may have under your house a cavity full of vermin and bad air. You were much worse off before the cavity was found, repulsive as it may be to you, and now that it is found, you may be sure it will be cleansed. There may be cavities in our mental architecture, abounding in either element, and there is no need to be discouraged as the God in ourselves shows them to us. Listen to this. He's talking about awareness here, just what I explained before. When we become aware, we start noticing things. We start noticing, he's giving weird examples, but we start noticing our bad habits. Okay, once we notice these bad habits, then we can fix them. And the God in ourselves shows them to us. There is no need of saying, I'm such an imperfect creature. I'm sure I can never cure all my faults. Yes, you can. You are curing them now. Every protest of your mind against your fault is a push of the Spirit forward. Only you must not expect to cure them all in an hour, a week, a day, a week, or a year. There will never be a time in your future existence, but that you can see where you can improve yourself. This is awesome, kind of what he brings up. And this is kind of where we really kind of have a fault. And this fault kind of moves over to manifesting our desires as well. Is he saying, like, once we're aware of our bad habits, okay, what happens is we beat ourselves up. Okay, we want to cure them now. We want to get rid of our faults now. Okay, once we notice them, once we become aware of it, we want to get rid of it now. But what we have to understand, most of our bad habits, depending upon how old you are, for example, if you're 30, a lot of these bad habits you've had for like 20 years, 25 years, okay, you've been doing as a kid, or you've had that mental habit, that mental thought has been stuck with you since you're 5, 6, 7 years old. So when he says, only you must not expect to cure them all in an hour, a day, a week, or a year. So what we love to do across the board, even when we talk about manifesting, is that we love to put a date on stuff. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this in 1 hour. I'm going to manifest this in 1 day. I'm going to manifest this in 1 week. I'm going to manifest this in 1 year. And what happens is you're controlling the how. Okay, you're controlling the how it's going to happen. And when you control the how, you're not really truly letting it go and letting the universe, letting God naturally bring it to you. Okay, you're too much controlling the whole atmosphere here. And even in manifesting, when you're not truly letting go and you're trying to control things, what's happening is you only can see in one direction. You kind of have tunnel vision. Okay, you only can see it coming in one direction, but it's trying to come into you from the side. Okay, every time I've manifested an intention, it's always come at a different angle than what I least expected it. You know what I mean? Because once I really let go and I really stop controlling and really stop controlling the how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, that's when it actually happens, and it comes in from a different angle than least expected. If you can see possibility of improvement, you must of course see the defect in to be improved. Or in other words, you see for yourself a still greater completion, a still greater elaboration, a finer and finer shading of your character, and a more and more complicated distribution of the force always coming to you. So you will cease the spreading over your being such an imperfect creature when you find, as you will, that you are the one of the temples of God, ever being built by yourself into ever increasing splendor. And if you notice here, in most of these paragraphs right now, he's always talking about, which I love what Wallows says, the impression of increase. And I love what, Thomas Troward says, that our mind, your mind, my mind is the center of divine operation. Divine operation means expansion. And expansion means always increasing into more. Okay, always becoming more. Okay, that's what the Spirit wants for you. That's what God wants for you. Okay, that's why he says abundance is inside you. Okay, we're always increasing. We're always moving forward. We always want more. We always want a better life. Okay, it's natural built into us that we always want to increase. We always want more and more and more. We always want to become better. No talent of yours ever stops growing any more than the tree stops growing in winter. If you're learning to paint or draw or act or speak in public or do anything and cease your practice entirely for a month or a year or 2 years and then take it up again, you will find after a little that an increase of that talent has come, that you have new ideas concerning it and new power for execution. You ask, what is the aim of life? Listen to this. Now he flips it and he says, you ask. And you ask this question, what is the aim of life? In a sense, you cannot aim your own life. There is a destiny that aims it, a law which governs and carries it. To what? To an ever-increasing and illimitable capacity for happiness as your power increases. And increase it must. You cannot stop growing despite all appearances to the contrary. The pain you have suffered has been through that same growth of the Spirit pressing you harder and harder against what caused you misery, so that at last you should take that pain as a proof that you were on some wrong path, out of which you must get as soon as possible. And when you cry out loud and are in living earnest to know the right way, something will always come to you the right way. For it is the law of nature that every earnest call is answered, and an earnest demand or prayer for anything always brings the needed supply. Okay, now kind of just be aware here. So if we're talking about awareness, now he's bringing in the law of nature. Remember, I told you in the beginning of this chapter, chapter 8 was about the law of nature. Okay, when you take an animal out of its natural habitat, there's negative consequences of that to the animal. Most of the things we see is the animal's life expectancy decreases. Okay, but you're taking them out of its natural habitat. What happens when we violate the laws of nature? Well, when we violate the laws of nature, well, there's negative consequences to that. So just keep that in the back of your mind here. What is the aim of life? To get the most happiness out of it. So you learn to live that every coming day will be looked for an assurance that it will bring that it will be as full and even fuller of pleasure that the day we now live in. To banish even the recollection that time can hang heavily on your hands. To be thankful that we live. To rise superior to sickness or pain. To command the body through the power of the Spirit so that it can feel no pain. To control and command the thought so that it shall ever increase in power to work and act separate, apart and afar from our body, so that it shall bring us all that we need of house or land or food or clothes, and that without robbing or doing injustice to anyone. To gain, and I'm going to stop right here. No, because he brings up a great concept here. Okay, when we talk about increase, and he's really going on an increase here. Okay, is when we increase, what it means is we don't have to. Wallace says this, and we don't have to. We have to remember there is no competition. There is no competition with abundance. Abundance is always going to be yours. You don't have to rush. You don't have to worry. Just like if you want your dream house, okay, somebody else isn't going to take your dream house away. Okay, there's always going to be your dream house. There's always going to be something better for you. Okay, so that's what I mean by competition. Lots of times we get in a rush and we think it's not going to be there. And then when we get in a rush, again, we're not letting it go. We're starting to control the how. And then we can actually go down a rabbit hole a little bit and we think that we kind of need to do the bad thing. We need to trick people. We need to manipulate people. Okay, now he's using like robbing and injustice. We need to steal from people to get what we want. We don't need to do any of that. Okay, everything will come to you. Okay, listen to this. Everything will come to you in due time, and you don't have to interrupt or take anything away from anybody else to get what you want. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Well, I'm trying to say it like Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich, is that what you want, you don't have to take from somebody else. If you want your dream house, you don't have to take your dream house from somebody else. Okay, you want your dream career, you don't have to take it from somebody else. If you want to make $1 million a year and you want to be a millionaire, well, you don't have to steal from somebody else in order for that to happen. Okay, it's going to happen. Abundance is inside you. Abundance is all around you. Abundance is infinite. Okay, that's what he's kind of meaning here. So let's move on. To gain in power so that the spirit shall ever recuperate and rejuvenate the body so long as we desire to use it, so that no part or organ shall weaken, wither, or decay. To be learning every new sources of amusement for ourselves and others. To make ourselves so full of happiness and use for others that our presence may ever be welcome to them. To be no one's enemy and everyone's friend. That in the destiny of life, to those demands of existence where people as real as we and much more alive than we have learned and are ever learning how to get the most of heaven out of life. That is the inevitable destiny of every individual spirit. So when we're going through this book, it's been a while. I took some time off, and I'm coming back and finishing this. But it's kind of amazing. He digs deep. Prentice Mulford. If you just jumping into this, Prentice Mulford goes really deep, and that's why it's really hard to read this. One, it's in Old English. This is all written in the mid 1850s or 1800s, and he's used Old English, and I'm reading the authentic version, or the more authentic version as I can find, to get more how he really wrote and how he's really writing things. And it hasn't been rewritten or how we talk today. But it's really cool that we should be happy, enjoy life, and we should be happy, enjoy life in every situation. And when we're happy, enjoying life, that means more and more people want to be around us because we have that higher vibration. And we've all done this. Is that you ever been around? You go to a party, maybe you don't know everybody. Maybe it's a work function, or maybe you show up to a friend's party and there's a lot of people there, so you don't know everybody. And there's certain people you just by vibration you stay away from, and other people you want to go over and talk to them, because the higher vibration you have, you want to be around that person. Okay, and it's so important when he says that is the inevitable destiny of every individual spirit. What is that? Happiness, enjoying life again. He keeps on going on this. He keeps on just talking about it and going deeper and deeper, 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 deeper with it. You cannot escape ultimate happiness and permanent happiness as you grow on in this and other existences. And all the pains you suffer or have suffered are of prods and pokes to keep you out the wrong path. Isn't that amazing? Okay, all that you've suffered or have suffered, or the pains you have and have suffered, are as prods and pokes to keep you out of the wrong path. Isn't that amazing how he says that? To make you follow the law. Isn't that so true? Is that we're going down the wrong path. Okay, our intuition is kind of ringing in our ears. We might have like intuitive ideas, or something might just happen that to try to keep us on the right path. to make you follow the law. What's the law? The laws of the universe, the laws of nature. And the more sensitive you grow, listen to this, the more sensitive you grow, the higher your intuition, the more sensitive you get to your intuition, to your intuitive thoughts, the more clearly you will see the law which leads away from all pain and ever toward more happiness, and to a state of mind where it is such an ecstasy to live that all sense of time is lost. As the sense of time is lost with us when we are deeply interested or amused or gazed upon a thrilling play or spectacle. So that in the words of the biblical record, a day shall be 1,000 years, and 1,000 years a day. The nirvana of the Hindu suggests all the possibility of life coming to our planet. Nirvana implying that calmness, serenity, and confidence of mind which comes of the absolute certainty that every effort we make, every enterprise we undertake must be successful, and that the happiness we realize this month is but the stepping stone to the greater happiness of next. If you felt that the trip of foreign travel you now long for and wish for was as certain to come, as now you are certain that the sun rose this morning, if you knew that you would achieve your own particular and individual proficiency and triumph in painting or oratory, or as an actor or sculptor, or in any art, as surely as you now know you can walk downstairs, you would not, of course, feel any uneasiness. In all your relatively perfected lives, we should know this, because we shall know for an absolute certainty that when we concentrate our mental force of thought or any plan or pursuit or undertaking, we are setting at work the attractive force of thought substance to draw to us the means of agencies or forces or individuals to carry out that plan, as certainly as a force of muscle applied to a line draws the ship to the pier. That was a rough paragraph just because the sentences are huge. I do apologize. And he's using, in one sentence, he's literally using the word now and no, and it just keeps on going on and on and on. And he has like several thoughts in like one sentence with no commas. So it doesn't really break it up for me. So I do apologize. But anyway, he's explaining it. It's kind of awesome how he's explaining it. Is that, if you want to do something, like for his example, if you want to be a painter or an actor or a sculptor, whatever you want to do, but you act like it's just as natural you want to do it as if you're walking downstairs. That's what he's really trying to say, is that he's kind of wording it confusing, but he's putting so many words in there in one sentence, and it's a little bit confusing. It's a little bit confusing for me to read it, but that's what he's really talking about, is whatever you want to manifest, okay? Think about this. If you want to manifest your dream house, your dream car, your dream career, but you act like it's such as natural to you, it's going to come to you just as natural. Like when I wake up in the morning and I walk over to the sink and wash my hands, wash my face, whatever you do in the morning is such as natural. If you get up in the morning, you're upstairs and you walk downstairs, you're doing all this stuff subconsciously. Okay, it's natural to you. So if you went at like your dreams in your life at that state, it will come to you so easy. That's what he's really saying here. You worry very little now as to your telegram reaching its destination, because while you know next to nothing as to what electricity is, you do know that when it is applied in a certain way, it will carry your message, and you will have the same confidence that when your thought is regulated and directed by a certain method, it will do for you what you wish. Okay, now I'm right here. So now he's kind of carrying on with this thing. Like, you don't worry about, nowadays he's saying a telegram, you mailing something in the mail, you don't worry that's going to reach the person. You don't worry it's going to reach, maybe you're paying a bill, mailing it. You don't worry it's going to reach the other person. Nowadays we have email, we have text messages on our phone. So when we send a text message, you don't sit there and worry and fret and fear that the other person didn't receive it and how they're going to receive it. Are they really going to get it? We don't do that. We just send an email. And we send an email with such confidence that the other person gets it, and we let it go freely. We just send an email and go on with our life. That's what he's really talking about here. Before men knew how to use electricity, there was as much of it as today, and with the same power as today, but so far as our convenience was concerned, it was quite useless as a message barrier. We lack knowledge to direct it. The tremendous power of human thought is with us all today, very much in similar condition. It is wasted. Listen to this. Listen to this. Now, what he's saying is, and I'm right here, it is wasted, and we'll continue on here for a second, but it's amazing why he's talking about this, is that we have all this power, and he's talking about, the use of electricity. Okay, he's giving this example. And back in his day, we have all this electricity, but if we don't know how to direct it right and use it right, all this electricity is just wasted. The electricity is there, it's always been there, but since we don't know how to use it right and direct its force to use it for humanity, it's all wasted. And now he's connecting it to human thought. Thoughts are things. We have all this power within us. Our thoughts are power. And without us knowing how to use it, without us knowing how to direct our power, it's wasted power. We're wasting, we're wasting the power that we really have. So let's continue on. It is wasted because we do not know how to concentrate and direct it. Listen to that. And we're wasting the power we have. We're wasting our thought power because we do not know how to concentrate and direct it. It is worse than wasted because with ignorance and lifelong habit, we work our mental batteries in the wrong direction and send from us bolt after bolt of ill will toward others, or envious, or snarls, or sneers, or some form of ugliness. All this being real element wrongly and ignorantly applied, which may strike and hurt others and will certainly hurt us. Isn't that so true? Let me read that one more time, just in case you weren't listening. Because this is exactly, remember, this was written back in the mid 1850s. It could have been even a little bit longer than that. I'm just guessing, just because Prentice Mulford passed away in the late 1800s. This book was published in the very, very, very early 1900s. So this book was published after Prentice Mulford's death. So this is all his manuscripts they kind of put into a book. But listen to this. Okay, and I want you to listen to this because we all do this. We all do this today. And this right here is what holds us back. This right here is what holds us back from manifesting our desires. This is what keeps us stuck in the law of karma. No matter how we want to put this. That's why I'm kind of saying it different ways here to kind of let it ring a bell in you. Is listen, it is the worse than wasted. He's talking about energy here. Let's go back. It's wasted. Your energy is wasted. Your thought power is wasted because you do not know how to concentrate and direct it. You don't know how to direct this power that you have, this great power that you have. You don't know how to use it. Then he says, it is worse than wasted. Listen to this. It's worse than wasted because through ignorance and lifelong habit, we work our mental batteries in the wrong direction. Remember, universal law, there's a positive and a negative. You're either moving forward in positive or you're moving forward in negativity. So this is what he's talking about. You're moving forward in the wrong direction. You're using universal laws. You're using nature laws in the wrong direction for you. You're going in a direction you don't want to be. That's why he's saying. We work our mental batteries in the wrong direction and we send from us bolt after bolt of ill will towards others. What's ill will? You're thinking negative towards others all the time, every day. You go to work, you talk about your spouse at home. Okay, when you go home to your spouse, you talk about all the people at work in a negative way. This is what people do. Okay, when you go out to eat, you're talking about people negative all the time. Okay, this is what people do, and they do the same thing today. Then they wonder why that they can't manifest what they want. Okay, now go on. Let's continue with this. Bolt after bolt of ill will towards others, or envious. You're envious of other people. You're envious of your neighbor. You're envious of people that have more than you, or snarls. Okay, when you're envious of somebody, you have to make a snicker little comment about them, or sneers, or some form of ugliness. All of this being real element wrongly and ignorantly applied, which may strike and hurt others and will certainly hurt us. Listen to this. What you do to others is going to hurt you. Okay, no. This is just universal law. You reap what you sow. Okay, if you're sowing negative seed, if you're doing all this is all negative seed. If you're sowing ill will towards others, if you're sowing envious or snarls or sneers or any form of ugliness, any form of negativity, okay, if you're sowing that seed, you will reap that seed. That's what he's saying. It's going to come back to us. Okay, that's what he's saying. It's you're hurting others, but you will also hurt yourself because you're connected to it. Okay, what you sow, you will reap. What you send out will come back to you. These are universal laws. Here is a cornerstone of all successful effort in this existence or any other. Never in thought, knowledge, or an impossibility. Never in mind reject what you may seem the wildest idea with scorn, because in so doing, you may not know what you are closing the door against. To say anything is impossible because it seems impossible to you is just so much training as the dangerous habit of calling out impossible. To every new idea, your mind is then a prison full of doors, barred to all outside, and you the only inmate. All things are possible with God. Listen to this. And I know we've heard this. Okay. All things are possible with God. Why are all things possible? Because abundance is within inside you, the spirit is within inside you, heaven is within you. Okay, God is within you. So a lot of people, you conceptually understand this. The spirit of God is within us. Okay, but you really don't really believe it. I mean, really. All things are possible with God. God works in and through you. To say impossible as to what you may do or become is a sin. Okay, it is denying God's power to work through you. It is denying the power of the infinite spirit to do through you far more than what you are now capable of conceiving in mind. To say impossible is to set you up your relatively weak limit of comprehension as a standard of the universe. It is as audacious as to attempt the measurement of endless space with a yardstick. When you say impossible and I can't, you make a present impossibility for yourself. This thought of yours is the greatest hindrance to the possible. It cannot stop it. You will push on, hang back as much as you may. There can be no successful resistance to the eternal constant betterment of all things, including yourself. You should say, it is possible for me to become anything which I admire. You should say, it is possible for me to become a writer, an orator, an actor, an artist. You have then thrown open the door to your own temple of art within you. So long as you said impossible, you kept it closed. Your I can't was the iron bolt locking the door against you. Your I can is the power shoving back that bolt. So he is explaining it kind of weird here, but I think you get the drift. Be aware of your thoughts. For one, be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of what you're saying. Okay, you'll be amazed. Once you start becoming more and more aware, you're going to catch yourself. Okay? And you're going to catch yourself both ways. You're going to catch yourself you thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking. And you're going to catch yourself, maybe you're saying things out loud. Maybe you're in a conversation with somebody and they ask you how your day's going. They ask you what you want to do. And you just subconsciously answer it, not even knowing how you're answering it. And you'll catch yourself saying things like, oh, I wish I could do this, but I can't. You know what I mean? Are you guilty of this? I'm guilty of it. You know what I mean? So you really have to catch your speech. You really have to catch your thoughts of, you can achieve anything you want to achieve. Nothing is impossible. Everything's possible. Okay? Because the Spirit of God is inside you, and we are gods on the inside. The power we have, it's very hard for us to come to grips with the power that we really have. Now, what we're trying to do is really learn how to harness our power and use our power for good, and use the power for good for us. Christ's spirit or thought had power to command the elements and quiet the storm. Your spirit, as part of the great whole, has in the germ and waiting for fruition the same power. Christ, through power concentrating the unseen element of his thought, could turn that unseen element into the seen and materialize food, loaves and fishes. That is the power inherent in every spirit, and every spirit is growing in such power. Listen to this. Okay, he gives an example of Christ in the Bible. And remember, in the Bible, in the New Testament, Christ turned around and said, all the miracles he can do, everything that he can do, you can do as well, and you can do more. Okay. So he's giving, and I'll read it one more time for you. Christ's spirit or thought had power to command the elements and quiet the storm. You have the same power. Your spirit, as part of the great whole, has in the germ and waiting for fruition the same power. The Christ, through the power of concentrating the unseen element of his thought, could turn that unseen element into the seen. Okay, manifesting. That's what he's doing. And materialize food, loaves and fishes. That is a power inherent in every spirit. Listen to this. This power he's talking about, this example he's giving about Christ, this example he's giving about Jesus, is in every spirit. You are a spirit. The spirit is inside you. And every spirit is growing in such power. You see today a healthy baby boy. It cannot lift a pound, but you know there lies in that feeble child the powers and possibilities which 20 years hence may enable it to lift with ease 200 pounds. So the greater power, the coming spiritual power, can be foretold for us, who are now relatively babies spiritually. The reason for the lives being so unhappy here in the region of being is that as we do not know the law, we go against it and go there by its pains instead of its pleasures. Let me read that one more time. I was stumbling over it a little bit, but I like the power. I like how he's talking about this. And he's talking about universal law. He's talking about nature laws. But he's talking about this is what most people do. The reason for lives being so unhappy, okay, the reason why your life isn't going the way you want it to go, the reason why you're unhappy and sad all the time, listen, the reason for lives being so unhappy here in this region of being is that as we do not know the law, listen to this, as we do not know the law, you do not know universal law, you're ignorant to the law, you don't know how the laws work, okay, you do not know nature's laws, we go against it. So you don't know how the laws, you don't know how to apply the laws to your life. So no matter if you don't know how to use the law, if you're ignorant of the law, or even if you don't believe in universal law, you're going to live against it. Okay, when you live against it, you're going on the negative side. Because remember, there's an opposite to every single law. There's a polar opposite of every single universal law. So we go against it and we get there by its pains instead of its pleasures or happiness. The law cannot be entirely learned by us out of the past record or the past experience of anyone, no matter to what power that might have attained. Such records or lives may be very useful to us as suggestors. But while there are general principles that apply to all, there are also individual laws that apply to every separate and individualized person. You cannot follow directly on my track in making yourself happier and better, nor can I in yours, because every one of us is made up of a different combination of element. As element has entered into and formed our spirits, our real selves, through the growth and evolution ages. We must study and find out for yourself what your nature requires to bring it permanent happiness. See, listen to this. So at this point, I'm in the middle of the paragraph. In this chapter, the paragraphs are rather long. Okay, but what he's saying here is he's comparing, his level of happiness to your level of happiness. It's like comparing what I'm manifesting to your manifesting. We have different ways. We have our own ways to what makes us happy, and because of this, we really have we all are different. Okay, we're all in the same in the grand scheme of things, but what makes us different is because we all have different bad habits that we're doing. We all have, what my bad habits are not what your bad habits are. What your bad habits are might be my strengths. Okay, it doesn't faze me at all. So so when we're manifesting and getting better and better and better at this stuff, is that we have to figure out what's not working for us. We have to figure out what our bad habits are. And I think that's the kind of a better way to explain this. You must study and find out for yourself what your nature requires to bring it permanent happiness. So you must study yourself. You must figure out what you're doing wrong. You must figure out your bad habits you have, bad thinking patterns you have, and you have to fix it. Okay. Once you fix it, you can become happier, 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 and you'll enjoy life. Again, when you're happy, enjoying life, doing things you love to do, you attract on that level of vibration. You are a book for yourself. You must open this book page after page and chapter after chapter as they come to you with experience of each day, each month, each year, and read them. No one else can read them for you as you can for yourself. No one else can think exactly as you think, or feel just as you feel, or be affected just as you are affected by outer forces or persons about you. And for this reason, no other person can judge what you really need to make your life more complete, more perfect, more happy, so well as yourself. So this is what I just said. I said it more kind of simple, but no one else can figure out what you want, what you need to change than you yourself. Okay? This is like a self-discovery. This is a I mean, even for myself, then you have to be aware, and you have to get deeper and deeper to figure out what to change. Okay, figure out where is all this negative habits coming from? Where is all this negative baggage coming from? Why am I thinking a certain way? And once I go to the root, then I can change it. But no one else can tell me that, because we're all different on that level. Okay, because we all have different life experiences. We all were brought up differently, and that's what I mean by life experiences. So we have to figure this stuff out for ourselves. You must find out for yourself what association is best for you, what food is best for you, and what method in any business, any art, any profession brings you the best results. You can be helped very much by conferring with others who are similarly interested. You can be very much helped by those who may have more knowledge than you of general laws. You can be greatly helped to get force or courage or new ideas to carry out your undertakings by meeting at regular intervals with earnest, sincere, and honest people who have also some definite purpose to accomplish, and taking yourself out to them and talking yourself out to them and they to you. But when you accept any man or woman as an infallible guide or authority and do exactly as they say, you are off the main track, because then you are making the experiments of another person, formed of a certain combination of elements or chemicals, and the result of that person's experiments, the rule for your own individual combination of element, when your combination may be very different and differently acted on by the elements outside of it. You have iron and copper and magnesia and phosphorus and more of other minerals and chemicals, and the combination and recombination of mineral and chemical in your physical body than earthly science has yet thought of. You have in your spirit or thought the unseen or spiritual correspondences of these minerals, still finer and more subtle, and all these are differently combined and in different proportions from any other physical and spiritual body. How then can anyone find out the particular action of this, your individual combination, save yourself? There are certain general laws, but every individual must apply the general law to him or herself. Listen to this. I'll highlight it for you. I'm right here. There are certain general laws. He's talking about universal laws here, or nature laws, or laws of nature. There are certain general laws, but every individual must apply the general law to him or herself. It is a general law that the wind will propel a ship, but every vessel does not use the air in it in exactly the same fashion. It is a general law that thought is force and can affect and is constantly affecting results to others far from our bodies. And the quality of our thought and its power to affect results depends very much on our associations. Isn't that very interesting? When we now he's directing it towards thought or power of thought, and our power of thought really depends upon our associations. What are our associations? That's our surroundings. That's our environment. Okay, the quality of our thoughts is going to be our environment. What environment are we in? That's going to be, if you want to kind of go up that chain or increase your vibration, remember, you have to change your environment. Your environment's going to change you, no matter if you like it or not. So what environment are you in? What associations do you have? But for that reason, it is yours is the superior thought or power. And I see that through its use, you are moving ahead in the world. I should not choose your character or of associates or your manner of life. I cannot try your methods as experiments, but I must remember they are only experiments. I must avoid that so common error, the error of slavish copy and an adultery of another. The Christ of Nazareth once bade certain of his followers not to worship him. Call me not good, he said. There is none good save God alone. Christ said, I am the way and the life, meaning, as the text interprets itself to me, that as to certain general laws of which he was aware, and by which he also as a spirit was governed, he knew and could give certain information, but he never did assert that his individual life, with all the human infirmity or defect that he had taken upon him, was to be strictly copied. He did pray to the infinite spirit of good for more strength and deliverance from the sin of fear. When the spirit quarreled at the prospect of his crucifixion, and in doing so, he conceded that he, as a spirit, powerful as he was, needed help as much as any other spirit. Knowing this, he refused to pose himself before the followers of God or the infinite, but told them that when they desire to bow before that almighty and never to be comprehended power, out of which comes every good at the prayer or demand of human mind, to worship God alone, God the eternal, unfathomable, moving power of boundless universe, the power that no man has ever seen or ever will see, save as he sees its very expressions in sun, star, cloud, wind, bird, beast, flower, animal, or in man as a future angel or archangel, and ascending still grades of mind and the grades of power higher and higher still, but ever and ever looking to the source whence comes their power, and never worshiping any one form of such expression, and by doing so making the creature greater than the creator. The power is today working on and in and through every man, woman, child on this planet, or to use the biblical expression, it is God working in us and through us. We are all parts of the infinite power, a power ever carrying us up to higher, finer, happier grades of being. And I read that one more time because this is the whole essence really of this chapter, and he keeps on hitting on this almost in every paragraph, is the power today working on and in through every man, woman, and child on this planet. Or to use the biblical expression, it is God working in us and through us. The Spirit is working in us and through us. Isn't that amazing? God working in us and through us. How do we manifest? We manifest from within out. So also God is working in us and through us. Okay, what we want, our reflection of our 3D world is from what is from within. That's why people say you must work on yourself, because you're manifesting your 3D world. What you see right now in your present life, you have manifested. Okay, it's coming from within you, but you have to figure out what's within you. That's the kind of the chuckle here. Okay, that's the work that each of us have, is we have to figure out what's within us. If we want to change our outside world, well, I got to change myself from within. Okay, if I want to manifest better things, I got to change myself from within. And listen, God working in us and through us, we are all parts of the infinite power, a power ever carrying us up to a higher, finer, happier grades of being. Every man or woman, no matter what may be their manner of life or grade of intellect, is a stronger and better man or woman than ever they were before, despite all seeming contradiction. The desire in human nature and all forms of nature or of spirit expressed through matter to be more and more refined is up to a certain growth of mind and unconscious desire. The God desire is at work on the lowest drunkard rolling in the gutter. The man's spirit wants to get out the gutter. I is at work on the greatest liar, prompting him, if ever so feebly, that the truth is better. It is the work on people who may call despicable and vile, When Christ was asked how often a man should be forgiven any offense, he replied in a manner indicating that there should be no limit to the sum of one's man's or woman's forgiveness for the defects of immaturity in another. Isn't that so powerful? I read that one more time. How often, like, this is like really higher consciousness. Okay, how often should we forgive? Okay, now we can go, and I don't know yet how much he's really going to go off on forgiveness, or he's going to talk about this in another chapter. But the power of forgiveness, what we mistake here is the power of forgiveness. Okay, we say we forgive somebody, okay, but yet we constantly bring it up when we talk about it. Okay, maybe you don't bring it up every day, but maybe you bring it up next month. Okay, that's not true forgiveness. I love what Neville Goddard says about forgiveness. And he talks about forgiveness in a lot of his lectures, but he really talks about forgiveness in the Pruning Shears of Revision. That's on the channel. You can look that up. It's called the Pruning Shears of Revision. And I love what he says about forgiveness. And he says this: true forgiveness is forgetfulness. Listen to that. When you truly forgive somebody, you totally 100% forget about it. You never think about it again. It's out of sight, out of mind. You completely let it go. You never bring it up again. That's true forgiveness. You can't say you forgive somebody when you hang on to it. The reason why you forgive somebody, not so much for them, but for you. Because when you don't forgive somebody, you're anchored to them. You're attached to them. Okay? You're attached to a chain to that person. Okay? That's why when Christ talks about forgiveness, he knew, okay, to save yourself, you have to forgive. Okay, because he knew that it anchors you to that person. But it's almost like a sin. Not being able to forgive is a sin. The reason why it's a sin separates you from God. Okay, now a true sin, if it separates you from God, God means law. Okay, laws of the universe. So it's separating you from the laws of the universe. You're living at opposite of the laws of the universe. Okay, that's why it's so powerful to forgive, because it anchors you to that person, and it's really hurting you, not them. So it's releasing you, and it's blessing you, plus it's blessing the other person. Okay, now I'm going deep with that. Now Prentice Mulford might go on with that, with forgiveness, but I just want to bring that in here since it was brought up. When Christ was asked how often a man should be forgiven any offense, he replied in a manner indicating that there should be no limit to the sum of one man or woman's forgiveness for the defects or immaturity in another. There should be no limit to the kind and helpful thought we think or put out toward another person who falls often, who is struggling with some unnatural appetite. It is a great evil, often done unconsciously, to say or think of an intemperate man. Oh, he's gone to the dogs. It's no use doing anything more for him, because when we do this, we put hopeless, discouraging thought out in the air. It meets that person. He or she will feel it, and it is to them an element retarding their progress out of the sloth that they're in. Just as some person's similar thought has retarded us in our effort to get out of some sloth we were in or are in now. Sloth of indecision, sloth of despondency, sloth of ill temper, sloth of envious, hating thought. Okay, now he's going on here with indecision. Let me kind of come up here. Let me say there should be no limit of for us to forgive. But now he's twisted it. Remember, going back, now he's bringing up, really going back to chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Is, remember, in these chapters, he digs really deep. And in these chapters, he goes super, super deep. And remember what he's saying, and Neville Goddard hits on this too, is that when we say negative words or negative conversations on another person, we actually are sending negative thoughts to that other person. We're actually keeping that person in the law of karma. We're actually keeping that person exactly where they are. They're not getting better. Okay, that's the power of thoughts that we have. So that's why he brings this up, is when someone says, oh, he's gone to the dogs, we should stop helping him. Okay, it's no use. and they're having conversations like this. And this is why they say, oh, he's gone to the dogs. There's no use doing anything more for him. Okay, how many times do we get caught up doing this? We all have done it, even myself. Okay, we all have conversations with friends and family about somebody. Okay, that goes into a negative kind of goes negativity downhill. Is that, and he says, because we were doing this, we put hope. Listen to this. We put hopeless, discouraging thought out in the air. It meets that person. He or she will feel it, and it is to them an element retarding the progress out of the sloth that they're in. Just as some person similar thought has retarded us in effort to get out of some sloth we were in, or are now in. Sloth of indecision, sloth of despondency, ill temper, envious, or hating thought. Okay? So, and Never Got It brings this up too. Well, what's holding Never Got It when he's setting attention? Okay, everything's for us. Then Never Got It takes it a step further, and he says, and Never Got It uses this example a lot, is imagine your friend or a family member is unemployed. He can't find a job. Okay, but in your mind, you don't see him as unemployed. Okay, in your mind, in your imagination, you see him already employed. You have a conversation with him in your imagination. You shake his hand, you congratulate him for being employed and making 50% more in salary. You see what Never Got It is doing. Okay, he's 100% forgiving people. Okay, he's not anchoring himself to that person, but inside his imagination, he's looking at the person how he would see the person. So what we have to understand here is, let's put it in current here. Maybe you have family, and this is like in 2024 now, so maybe you have family that struggles with drugs, struggles with alcohol. Okay, maybe they constantly lie, maybe they steal, theft, maybe they steal from family, maybe you're constantly lending them money. Okay, and that's the main discussion around the dinner table. That's the main discussion when you get together with family, is all that what this person's doing. Okay, and when you have discussions like this is what even Neville Goddard, even Thomas Troward, even Prentice Mulford has stated in different ways, explaining it in different ways, but they each have a different way of explaining it, but it all means the same thing. Is our thoughts have power. Is when we talk negative about somebody, our thoughts kind of go to that person, and it keeps that person stuck in the place that they are. Is because what if we reversed it, and when we get together with family, get together with friends, and we always spoke positive about somebody's life, even if they struggle with drugs, alcohol, but we speak positive that he's already out of that funk. He's already conquered it. He has a terrific job now. Okay, this is the same thing we do when we live in the end, dwell in the end for ourselves when we're trying to manifest. Okay, but we're doing it for another person. Okay, this is how deep this stuff really goes. And I get caught up into it too. You know what I mean? It's so easy to get caught up into. It's so easy to hang out with family, and we start having negative conversations about other family members. But we have to understand is when we're constantly having these conversations, we keep that family member stuck exactly where they are, just by our level of thought. That's the power that we have. Yet the spirit of man becomes the stronger for all it struggles against. It becomes the stronger for struggling against your censorious, uncharitable thought, until at last it carries a man or woman to a point where there may in thought say to others, I would rather have your approbation than your censor, but I am not dependent on your approbation or censor. For my most rigid judge and surest punishment for all the evil I do comes of my own mind. The God or the goddess and myself, from whose judgment, from whose displeasure, there is no escaping. Yet as his spirit grows clearer and clearer in sight, so does the judge in ourselves become more and more merciful for its own errors. For it knows that, in a sense, as we refine from cruder to finer expression, there must be just so much evil to be contended against, fought against, and finally inevitable overcome. Every man and woman is predestined to a certain amount of defect until the spirit overcomes such defect. And overcome it must, for it is the nature of the spirit to struggle against defect. It is the one thing impossible for man to take this quality out of his own spirit, the quality of ever rising toward more power and happiness. If you make this excuse to sin or commit excess or lie or steal or murder and say, let me say this before we go on, because I haven't said this for a while here, and you might be just jumping into this, is when we say sin, okay, let me dig a little bit deeper here. Okay, because we heard sin, and sin has a religious connotation to it. And then we take it a step further when we say, well, sin separates us from God. But if we go deeper into Hebrew, God means law. Okay, when you say God's laws of the universe is nature's laws. Okay, if God in Hebrew means law, okay, sin separates you from God, sin separates you from law, sin separates you from the laws of the universe, sin separates you from the nature's laws. Then you dig it a little bit deeper when you say, well, what's our universal laws? And universal laws always have a polar opposite. Okay, if there's a positive, there's a negative. So when you sin against the nature's laws, okay, you're not getting the positive out of it. You're going to the opposite, which is negative. So that's really what sin means. If you make this an excuse to sin and commit excess or lie or steal or murder and say, I can't help it, I'm predestined to it, you will be punished all the same. Not possibly by man's law, but by natural or divine law, which has its own punishments for every possible sin. For murder or lust or lying or stealing or evil thinking or gluttony. And these punishments are being constantly inflicted. And today, thousands on thousands are suffering for the sins they commit in ignorance of the law of life. And the pain of such punishment has grown so great and bears so heavily on so many that there is now a greater desire than ever to know more of these laws. And for that very reason is this desire being met. And these questions are being answered, for it is an inevitable law of nature that what the human mind demands, that it in time gets, the greater the number of minds so demanding, the sooner is the demand met, the questions answered. Steam, but a few years ago, relatively met the demand of human mind for greater speed and travel. Electricity met a demand for greater speed and sending intelligence from man to man. These are but as straws pointing to the discovery of use of greater powers, not only in elements outside of man, but in the unseen elements which make man and woman, in the elements unseen which make you and me. Henceforth, our race will commence to be lifted out of evil or cruder forms of expression, not by fear to the punishments coming through violation of the law, but they will be led to the wiser course through love of the delight which comes of following the law as we discover it for ourselves. We eat moderately because experience has taught that the greater pleasure comes of moderation. We are gentle, kind, and considerate to your friend. Not that they have constantly before your mind the fear of losing that friend if you are not kind and considerate, but because it pleases you and you love doing of kind acts. Human law and even divine law, as interpreted by human understanding, have ever been saying in the past, you must not do this or that, or you'll feel the rod. God has been pictured as a stern, merciless, avenging deity. Isn't that so true? Okay, when people, even people in religion, even Christians, Catholics, Methodists, no matter what religion you are, a lot of times you always have people that kind of bring back the Old Testament, or always have extreme examples, or that always look at God as pictured as a stern, merciless, avenging deity. God punishes you. Okay, God don't want you to be abundant. God's taken it away from you. People have that parenting style as God. And lots of times our view of God is how we were raised by our own parents. Lots of times if we have people that were raised in a loving home, they see God as a loving God. If people were raised where they had very strict parents, okay, and maybe they were abused. And abuse is, it could be mental abuse, physical abuse. It could be maybe you had a very, very overbearing parent. So what happens is your reflection of a God is going to be the same thing. You're kind of going to have a morbid view of God. It's the same way what he says here. God has been pictured as a stern, merciless, and avenging deity. And what's so powerful about this is 2024, and this is written in the mid 1850s. And it's the same thing today. The burden of the preacher's song has been penalty and punishment. Isn't that so true? There's so many preachers nowadays. The burden of a preacher's song has been penalty and punishment. Punishment and penalty. Humanity is to forget all about penalty and punishment because it is to be won over and tempted to greater goodness, to purity and refinement by the ever-increasing pleasures brought us as we refine. The warning of penalty was necessary when humanity was cruder. It could only be reached by the rod. The race was blind, and as a necessity of its condition, it had to be kept somewhere near the right path by the succession of painful prods and pokes, with a sharp gold of penalty. But when we begin to see clearer, as now the more quickened and sensitive of our race do begin to see, we need no rod any more than you need a man with a club to prevail on you to go to the feast. And this is the end of chapter 9 here. Now chapter 9, he kind of ended it abruptly. Usually he does pretty good at ending it, or he kind of does a conclusion paragraph here. But keep in mind too, like these are all transcripts. This wasn't, I don't think that this was just transcripts he's wrote, and it was kind of actually put into a book after his death. So it wasn't really written for a book. So this chapter just kind of ended here. But kind of going back here in this chapter, I mean, he talked a lot about happiness. And the reason why he talked about happiness, again, is that, it's about, when we're manifesting, we want a better life, and we want a higher vibration. What keeps us in a high vibration? What keeps us in a high vibration is being happy, enjoying life, doing things we want to do, okay? And see the pleasure about it, okay? We having pleasure in life increases our vibration. We're always happy. For one, people want to be around us, no matter where we go. When people see that you're happy, you're more approachable. People don't come up and talk to you. But then also, even with manifesting, we're talking about manifesting here, is that when we're in a higher vibration, we manifest on the vibration that we're on. Okay, if we're in a low vibration, we manifest in that vibration. Okay, your dream car, your dream house is not on that low vibration. It's on a higher vibration. That's why when you just really focus on being happy, you really focus on enjoying life, you really focus on doing your hobbies, what you like, bring your hobbies back into your life, and living an overall happy life, that increases your vibration. And when you increase your vibration, that brings you close. That's why you manifest better when you're happy. You manifest better when you're excited, is because it brings you closer to that vibration of the stuff that you want to manifest. And sometimes it brings you right on that vibrational level where things just start, all of a sudden, we all have this in our lives at some points or another, where doesn't it seem weird how in certain points of our life, like everything just seems to be working out, everything just seems to be working, everything just seems to be coming to you. If you want something, it just comes to you right away. Maybe in a day, a week, a month, but everything just seems to be coming into your life, pouring into your life of goodness. Okay, and other times as we get older, other times we've experienced the opposite too, where sometimes it seems like nothing's working out at all. And what we got to do, what I do in those states, is I really try to think back. Okay, what was I really focused on during that time? What was I really doing? What was my thought process? What was I thinking? But sometimes when I go back and I think back, honestly, to keep it simple, I was just way more happier. I was enjoying life, enjoying the moment. Okay, and this stuff is so simple, we make it difficult. Okay, it's the same thing when I manifest something. I gave this story before, recently in other videos, but I just manifested one of my intentions through Navigator, and I set an intention about 8 months ago. It just came true about a month ago. Okay, and it's so when I kind of think back, and I always try to access or kind of be analytical a little bit. Like once an intention comes in, once that manifested, I always think like, okay, what did I do? What did I do right this time? Okay, and most of the time, what I've done right is I've completely let it go. I wasn't overly attached to it. Okay, this is what Navigator means, that when you say draw in the end, live in the end. Okay, when you draw in the end, live in the end, you live as if you already have what you want. Okay, then you have to dissect that for yourself. Okay, how would you really be acting if you have what you want? Okay, how would you really be living if you have what you want, already have what you want? What type of decisions would you be making if you already had what you want? Okay, this is what you have to dissect it a little bit. And this is what you kind of have to act as if a little bit. Okay? And this is what I do when every time, even if it's you're manifesting something simple, you manifest a cup of coffee. You think about it, and a couple days later, someone gives you a cup of coffee. Usually you're fine. Like you're fine. Basically, you'll find a very very similar path of what you've done, and if you can manifest a cup of coffee, guess what? You can manifest that dream house. Okay, if you can do Neville Goddard's ladder technique and it worked for you, well, guess what? You can manifest that dream job, that dream career, that dream salary. You can manifest that $1 million, that multi-million-dollar lifestyle. Okay, and Neville Goddard said the same thing. If you did a ladder technique, you could have just as well manifested $3 million. Okay, that's how simple this stuff is. But we if you can manifest a book, you can manifest your dream car. Okay. You just have to find, when you manifest a book, you manifest a cup of coffee, you just have to find what state were you in. Lots of times when we manifest a cup of coffee, the reason why it works is because we just don't care. Honestly, we just don't care. We don't care if we get it or not. We let it go. We don't think about it, then it comes to us. This is the same thing. One of the tactics we got to do when we want that dream car. We want that dream car. I already have my dream car. If I already have my dream car sitting outside in my garage, I'm gonna have a different feel. I'm gonna have different decisions. Okay, I'm not gonna always think about where's my dream car. I need to look at it. I'm not gonna think like that. It's just gonna be as is. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's wrap up this chapter. I don't want to go on and on and on. But anyway, let's wrap up this chapter. I'll see you in chapter 10, and we only have a few more chapters to go here. And blessings to you, and I'll see you in chapter 10.